Welcome back, everyone. I have a super exciting guest who is a lawyer and she's been practicing for the past 10 years with small businesses. She is here to answer all of your burning questions over legal matters. This is Michelle Wilson. This is more of a educational video and for educational purposes. If you do need to consult any legal or tax professionals after this, please do look them up and contact them within your state because this is not going to be specific to your country, your state, and also your business. So just make sure that you follow up with a legal professional in your area. So without further ado, we're going to hop straight into this interview. Welcome to our call, Michelle. I am so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So, we're going to dive straight into the questions that I've seen quite often on my YouTube channel and just within my communities as far as Etsy and print on demand goes. So, the first question that I typically get from a lot of Etsy sellers that I, of course, can't answer because I'm not a legal professional by any means, but do you need some sort of business registration, whether that be an LLC, DBA, when you first open an Etsy shop? Do you need that before you open, or can you open an Etsy shop without that?
So you can't open it without that. As far as like naming it, if you have a name for it, then you're going to have to file a DBA. So if you're just using your own name for your shop, so for me it'd be like Michelle Wilson, that's fine. You can use that. But if your shop is like, I'll use my own, the CEO Legal Loft, you'd have to file a paperwork with your state, have a DBA is an assumed name, a fictitious name. Every state calls it something different. And then you can use your business name on your Etsy shop. And then you can always also start an LLC, single member LLC. And with that, you'll have a little bit more protection. But I think we're going to talk about that later.
Yeah, yep. And if Etsy sellers don't register an LLC and they just do the DBA route, that's considered, they would just immediately become a sole proprietorship
Sole
or
proprietorship.
okay,
Yes.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
good to know. So, I guess as far as protection, what you were kind of touching on a little bit there is as far as sole proprietorship versus LLC, can you go into a little bit more detail on what type of protection you're going to get between the two?
Sure. So a sole proprietorship, it is just you. You and your business are one and the same. All of your personal assets, all of your business assets, they're just one thing. They're not looked at separately. With an LLC, there is like a barrier between you and your business. So your business bank account is over here. Your personal assets and real estate, whatever you have, is over here. And so depending on how you're conducting business, you should not be. So if you get sued, they should not be able to touch your LLC asset. I'm sorry, your personal assets if they're suing your LLC. But again, there's other things that go into that as well. Like you're not mixing your, money together. Like you're not mixing personal finances with your business finances. Those type of things. And if you are doing that, then you're piercing the corporate veil and they can go after everything.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that's another thing. Just working with a lot of lawyers to just get my LLCs established is about piercing the corporate veil. I did not know about that when I started as an Etsy seller, and I know this isn't a question on my list, but by piercing the corporate veil, what are actions that can cause that outside of maybe mingling your personal and business expenses?
Yep. So it's not having enough money in your accounts. It's signing as personally instead of on behalf of your company, on behalf of your LLC as like the owner or the president or however your title is in your LLC member. The co-mingling is one of the biggest ones. Committing fraud. If you're committing fraud, they can try to come after your LLC or your personal assets as well. Those are the ones that I can think of off the top of my head that are the most common.
So our next question is, do you need a business license or seller's permit to sell on Etsy? I know this kind of goes with the first question, but I know that's a question for people. If they are sole proprietorship, would they also need some type of permit?
Yes, you would need a permit depending on your locality, your state, your county. So that is something that you're going to have to look up with your state. I suggest calling your like city. What is it called? The city house? I don't know what they're called, but yeah, call your like your local people, and they will kind of guide you into like what you need and what you don't need. Or if you decide you're never going to do it, you'll get a letter in the mail. Ask me how I know. Asking you for your thank you, asking you for your back fees for for your business. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. I guess with all these legal questions involved, what's really important that you're saying is it depends on your state, your county, and all of that. So, at what stage of an Etsy seller's journey should they consult a legal professional? Because I know that is something that a lot of people they have to look at their budget versus,
Right.
okay, when does this make sense? Like,
So I would say the sooner the better if possible, even just having like scheduling a quick phone call, like an hour long phone call with an attorney, and you can just like get your questions asked. I know a lot of my attorney colleagues, we all do like kind of like a strategy call for those type of things where people can't like hire you immediately or there's no like real work that needs to be done, but you have some questions. So I definitely, if you can from the beginning, reach out to a lawyer, set up a call and get those questions answered, because I've had people come to me not realizing how much went into having a business and how much, there's just a lot of things that have to be taken care of. And they're like, oh, I might need to like take a step back on this because I didn't realize how much needed to be done before I even got this started.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And one thing that you have as resources is your templates. And I know that that's something for Etsy, for any Etsy owner, they do have to put in their own privacy policy. And then you also offer templates on your website that are for copyright as well, that a lot of sellers don't know about. So are those templates kind of around those lines of things that you need set in place before someone starts?
Yes. So I'm all about like getting things done to prevent anything from happening, anything bad from happening if we can. Obviously, this is the internet. People copy, people steal all the time. But there are things that you can do to put in place to like avoid that. And so, yes, I created templates to make sure that you have access to these resources. You don't have to pay $1,500 for a lawyer to draft it for you, for a custom contract. So yeah, I created different things that I've seen that, people who come to me have needed.
Exactly. And that's what I love about your website. Like when I found you and I started looking on your website, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been looking for is just templates that are affordable for a lot of the Etsy sellers that watch my channel and are in my communities. Because that is very much needed for small businesses and just the entry to barrier and
Yes.
the cost of starting and cost of, filing an LLC. And that kind of goes into my next question as far as LLCs. Do you believe, or would you recommend people to hire out a lawyer to file an LLC, or can people do it on their own?
I think if you're a single member, I think you can do it on your own. If you're not confident about it, I'm all about hiring. If you think you're going to do something wrong, just go ahead and hire somebody that will do it right for you. But if you are pretty confident about like filling out a form, I have full confidence that you you can do it on your own. Now, when you have a multi-member LLC, you have partners, go to a lawyer immediately. Please do not try to do this on your own. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Because too many times I've seen the aftermath of the breakup and it gets nasty.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that could make sense. I guess that's my next question. So do you have I saw you have the CEO, I think it's the CEO legal kit. Is that
Yes.
kind of walking you through the process of how to create a LLC on your own?
So I have the LLC launch, which it's a step-by-step guide. The CEO legal kit is more so like a very wide overview of the things that you need to know about legally when you're selling online. So we do touch on like the business entities, the LLCs, protecting your content online, how to use other people's content legally, ADA compliance, contracts if you need. So it's something that I created because way too many people are coming to me like, where do I start? And I'm like, here's like everything that you need that you should be worrying about if you're starting online. So I created that kit with like templates as well. So there's, video modules that I discussed so you can understand like why things are the way they are, and then templates that also accompany it.
And I'm going to link that down below this video for anyone who wants to access those resources. They are super affordable for small businesses, so highly, highly recommend. With LLCs, so let's say that someone has multiple Etsy shops. Are they okay to file a DBA for a separate Etsy shop, or should they create a separate LLC?
So that is totally dependent on, to me, how risky whatever you're selling. And I always say like you probably want to separate your LLC from maybe something like a very risky industry. So like real estate, construction, uh, medical, legal, financial stuff, things like that. However, if you have a really successful store, I would separate it out if you want to start a new business venture, because you don't want this successful store to be tied up into something. This other company gets sued, and now they can go after this successful store as well. So I think it depends on kind of how things are going with you, or if you're selling like maybe food and things like that, maybe I would also separate that out because there's more issues that come with it. If you're selling like spreadsheets, you're fine. Like, yeah, but like more tangible things, I would probably separate everything out. Or if you're making a lot of money off of one store, separate it out.
That makes sense. I was also going to ask along those lines of, let's say someone has a successful digital Etsy shop and then they have a successful or if they're just starting like a candle shop,
Right.
would that be a time that they should separate then?
I would separate.
Okay,
Yes.
that's good to know. Awesome. I guess as far as talking about candles too, for Etsy sellers, I know a common question lately has been, at least in like my comment section, about candles and like dangerous items. So let's say like a string chokes like someone, something
Right.
like crazy like that, or
Right.
something you wouldn't think of with print on demand products, but it has happened.
Right.
What would Etsy sellers be liable for in those situations, or what should they look at in their print on demand companies in order to prevent them from being liable, I guess?
So first of all, if you're using a print on demand company, make sure you have a contract with them. And that contract is essentially like a rule book for your relationship. And so if there are issues, the issues should be outlined in that contract. The supplier should let you know like what their obligations are, what the seller's obligations are. And then if there are issues that come up, like remedies of, what happens if there's a breach of the contract. And another big thing that I don't think a lot of people realize and look for are indemnification clauses. So an indemnification clause is basically saying they're letting you off the hook, or in the opposite way, you're on the hook for their issues. So definitely look for an indemnification clause in these contracts, but also what the remedies are for if they do breach a contract. And then also if you've like paid, say something's, oh, well, I think we're going to talk about this later, so I don't want to say it right now.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like if something happened where there was a defect, you can also ask for a refund, chargeback if you paid it on a on a credit card. Filing small claims court if necessary. So those are also kind of remedies if there's no contract.
I guess the follow-up question to that. So let's say that maybe, even if they have the contracts in place and maybe you like get sued by a customer. Hopefully that never happens to anyone
Right.
watching this, but is there business insurance that can protect you if that happens?
So yes, I would definitely try to get some business insurance. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what kind it would be because there's so many different ones now out here. But liability insurance, I believe, would cover these type of issues. Yeah, liability insurance should be covered or should cover you if you should ever get sued.
As far as the liability insurance and just like I feel like liability insurance, and this might just be from my perspective, but I think when every time I contacted the companies, it seems like they are based very much on fear mongering, and I don't know how much of that may be true, you know. But would you recommend liability insurance for maybe like a smaller business or like let's say they're not making that many sales yet? Should they have that from the beginning or
I would say yes.
okay.
Okay, and this is why I say this because as a lawyer, I have to have malpractice insurance like from the beginning. So even if I only had one client, if something had happened with that client, I would have, I wouldn't have been covered if I didn't have the insurance. So I think yes, have it, but try to like if you can get like maybe a cheaper policy or something like that in the beginning, see what's out there, you know.
That's good to know. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure because I feel like I've never asked that hard question with a lawyer before because I know it's a hard one and I threw a curveball at you, but
Yeah.
thank you for answering that because I think that sometimes you know how like I don't know like life insurance. I know life insurance is good too, but like there's
Right.
certain other insurance policies like you know you go to Best Buy and anything you buy it's like what if you break it and it's like
Right.
oh man, now I'm thinking of all the scenarios in my head that's going to happen. And anywho's, that's just me going on a far off tangent. But that's why sometimes I kind of side eye some of those. But I know
Yeah.
also a lot of viewers do too. So just thank you for answering that once and
And
for
I
all
would
for
say
us.
if it's like if it's a more dangerous product, candles, things like that,
Hmm.
it's better to be safe.
Let's say that maybe a Etsy seller doesn't have a legal contract in place with a print on demand supplier and maybe they get sued by a customer for a defect in a product that was the print on demand supplier's fault. What legal recourse or action can they take if that ever happened?
So if the contract says that you can like get compensation for like lost profits or something like that, then you can go after them for that. I think I said it before, but try to get a refund or do a chargeback. Um, Small claims court is always a great alternative. Mediation, negotiations, and then sometimes consumer protection laws may also help in trying to get some recourse.
Okay, awesome. That's great to know. And I guess for this is going back to kind of privacy policies, and I should have asked this earlier on too, but with the privacy policies and kind of templates to have in your shop, I know a lot of sellers for like cookies and GDPR, are they required to have those types of policies on their shop even if they sell on Etsy?
That I'm actually not sure because I would
Okay.
think that Etsy kind of has their own privacy, policy. But if you're selling on your own site, absolutely, you have to. Because Etsy, I believe if you're going through their stuff, so like they're collecting email addresses and they're collecting, payment information. But again, it never hurts because I do know a lot of people start on Etsy and then they move over and they start their own shop on their own. So it doesn't hurt to have that information in there because then all you have to do is just move that information over to your website when if you decide to just create your own shop.
Again, this is kind of off my list of questions, but I kind of just thought of that this and as you were speaking, which is about kind of, you know, how like if you work at a hospital and you kind of have protection under the hospital, if the
Right.
hospital gets sued for malpractice, do you think that type of like protection is considered for Etsy too? Because I know if you're a seller on Etsy, would you have that type of protection?
You know what? You have to look in their terms and conditions. They'll let you know.
Oh,
That I'm not sure, but look in their
yeah.
terms and conditions, and it'll tell you, because that is, I'm sure, a question that gets asked all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I'll have to check that out after this thing because I never thought about that, but that maybe that could be. I know that Etsy has a Etsy seller protection part of
Yes,
their terms and conditions, and I know that's for shipping and like, if a customer gives you a 1-star review on shipping, Etsy says and states that, hey, they'll sometimes you can ask for Etsy to refund on your behalf. So Etsy will actually pay for a shipping issue or something.
gotcha.
So that's kind of one of the pros, but I never thought about anything like more serious. So I will
Right.
definitely look into that after this as well.
And I think the other thing that people don't realize is that anybody can sue anybody. Like,
Yep.
so say that you do get sued as the Etsy seller, I'm sure they're going to also go after Etsy. They're going after everybody that they think they can get money from. So,
I think the last of this section, as far as legal questions I had, and like I said, we kind of already touched base on this, but is there any other policies that a Etsy seller should have on their shop outside of maybe like the privacy, and maybe GDPR
I
compliance
would
if Etsy doesn't already have that?
say a copyright notice, especially if you're creating your own designs. And a copyright notice is generally just saying, these are my original creations. You cannot use them without my permission. And you obviously can tailor it to however you need it to be. So if you are, licensing them out, you can put something about that. Like, you can use it for sharing on social media, but you need to tag me, or, whatever your own policy is. But yeah, I would add a copyright notice as well.
Okay, awesome. And you have those notices in your template pack, right?
So that if you get the CEO legal kit, it comes with the all like a bunch of different disclaimers. So like say you're selling like budget spreadsheets, you'd have like a financial disclaimer like, hey, go talk to an accountant. Like, this is just for your educational purposes. You know, basically disclaiming your responsibility if they do anything that messes them up.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm going to link that below again. If anyone wants those templates, just check them out in the links in the description of this video. Thank you so much, Michelle,
You're
for
welcome.
being on my channel and just being in my content and helping my community out and just knowing the world of legal things that we're all very overwhelmed and confused about. I also wanted to say if anyone hasn't already checked out Michelle's templates, she has free resources. She has a newsletter that's completely free, and you can get a lot of helpful legal content sent to you. And it's just all very affordable. So check out the links down below. Don't forget to follow Michelle after this. And I hope everyone found this very helpful. Again, thank you so much, Michelle, for coming on the channel.
No
So.
problem. Thank you.